What up, guys? You know what it is. Another Friday, another live stream. We're getting wild today. We got lots of fun topics. I'm going to talk a little bit about lower pulleys, some other fun stuff. I'm going to let some people filter in as per usual, and we're going to get right into the shop updates and then go into the old could you, should you, would you. Could you, should you, turbo minivan? Yes. Let me let some people in. My hair is a mess. Let's check what Arturo's got going on, though. Arturo! Yes? What's the word? What is this? What are these?
Those are MMX adapter plates.
MMX adapter plates.
To run that over there.
Yo! TRX blower. TRX blower? On the 5.7 Durango. Wait a minute. Arturo's going crazy on this one. So, pretty much brand new everything. This is brand new Hellcat front drive, so it will take advantage of the 10 rib setup. Maximum belt contact. Maximum belt contact. No more belt slip. The 6, the 8 rib setups, you'll still have some slip. The more belt you can get on there, the more better. Are these brand new heads too? Everything looking new.
It's a long block.
Gotcha. It's been, we've been collecting parts for a bit on this one. Just one of those where it came to us. We found out more as we kind of tore it apart. And then we just kind of got into it. So it's been collecting parts. Everything's here. So she is going to town. Of course, those Cooks long tubes headers on there, adapter plates, blower will be going on. I believe this customer also did a built trans and T-case. So built HP 75 and T-case, courtesy of our boy, Mr. Sipple, the GOAT, the transmission GOAT. If you need a trans done, hit up Sipple, or you ain't doing it right. So, let's see what else we got going on. Arturo's just doing his thing, so I'm going to leave him alone. Getting ready to put the other exhaust manifold on there. So, do your thing, Arturo. Have fun, man. Let's see what else we got going on. Oh! Little WK1 action. New 6.1 black is here. Arturo is all business. I'm so loud. I know I'm loud because Arturo ain't. He's so quiet. People text me, what was Arturo saying? I say, sorry, I was yelling. But 6.1 going in this. Gonna be great. Gonna be fun. Gonna be wild. Mr. Paul's car is in. New Whipple showed up. And this is the new one. New castings and all that with the updated inner supports. Look at that, yo! 4 of them. Gotta love it. So let's go ahead and close this back up before Dan finds out I touched it and kills me. He'll never know, guys. He'll never know. This one, no, so new AC compressor came in. The stock one had seized up. So, I'm going to be getting a new compressor in there, get that blower in, some other stuff. Lots of fun. Let's see what else we got. Red 426 Whipple Jeep in the house. I believe we are putting the drive shaft back in after the dyno for street tuning, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100%. I should know, though. Oh! Arturo pointed it out. I forgot. Welded up the mid pipes. It has those little, the little ball couplers, kind of like the sockets. And she's making so much power, it's just blowing them out. So, V-banded it. It would blow out those little gaskets. They're like little, I don't know, graphite-ish kind of gaskets that go on them, and it would blow them out because it's making a ton of power. So, clamp, V-band welded on, makes it easy to drop it. If you want to drop the exhaust, it's the rear hangers, the bolts, V-bands, drop it at the track. Less back pressure, baby. These ain't two strokes. Let's see what else we got. We got Hellcat on the dyno. Gotta love it. Arturo. So, he's just trying to be famous. So, gonna drain some fuel out of this, get it ready for the dyno. and hopefully we'll be making some steam. There'll be more information posted. I can't remember, but I do remember 15-inch conversion, yo. What? So 15-inch conversion, I believe fuel system, and then AAD drag pack, among some other things. But this one's going to be nice and fun. We should have some footage posted up of this one soon with numbers, and everything will be fine and dandy. So super fun. Everyone's getting their car washed today. Captain Helmet. No helmet. No helmet. Everyone is washing their cars. I got both of mine washed. Dan just washed his Charger, and Arturo is washing his not Charger. He really likes Subarus, so Matt's going to do his magic on it. I believe a silver wash today. Arturo has just been murdering bugs, so we're going to make sure we get those off. Of course, Magic Matt going to make it happen. But lots of brake dust, too. He needs new stickers. Arturo, when you get new stickers for your wheels? Why don't you? He's too good to print out his own stickers, so I need to do it for him. But oh, it's on camera. It's on camera because I got to show them before. Yeah. How about that? Boost loading. Boost loading. It's a Subaru. It'll never hit boost. It just pops head gaskets. But I shouldn't make fun because I've gone through like 3 turbos when I had my Sonic. Regardless. That's kind of the shop update. The only other thing I can show you is the Jeep fabricator. He is coming in when he can, getting things suited, booted. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Look at this demonstration. I miss Cooley. Can you guys tell? I miss Cooley. We need to get a petition to get Cooley to come home. But look at this. All this sexy stuff. I believe this is where wastegate is going to kind of come over yonder and go whoop. Not 100% sure, but fabricator is making things happen. So obviously the turbo is out. Fun things ahead, y'all. Let's get in with Jeremy. Let's get those could you, should yous, and let's have fun with it. So I believe we're going over the lower pulley. Jeremy. Oh. Okay. We're changing location, y'all.
Alright. I don't know if you want to go up there.
I'm getting distracted.
Is that going to work?
Take a seat.
Alright, we'll see.
Turbo pipe's getting welded up. Yo. Ooh, that's money.
I like money.
I also want to point out because I'm not wearing it. I need to do laundry.
Unacceptable.
Merch available on our website. Get dripped up. It's almost away from t-shirt season. Don't worry. He's got a hoodie. We do hoodies. Hoodies. Beanies. Catch cans with custom engraving. See that?
You didn't flip the camera again? Oh,
I don't know how to do it, man.
Oh,
Listen,
iPhones.
I know I'm 20, but I got the technological.
You can blame iPhone or Tulo, either one of those.
Oh, Tulo, man.
All one and the same, right? What's going on, everybody? So we'll wait for Tulo to grab his fake piece of paper where he hides his phone behind it so he can see the questions.
Hey, out me, man.
So,
Also, real quick, in case you guys didn't know, cover your ears. I'm offering discounts. If you try and boost your car and you got 576164 and you want to boost it and you want a little discount, hit me up. He doesn't know, hit me up. I can get you set up. Cam can get you set up. Captain Helmet can get you set up. He doesn't know. Keep it on the low.
what about the Hellcat powered vehicles? What if they want to change the power adder?
Oh, if you want to change your power adder on a Hellcat powered vehicle, I can also probably get you hooked up. Hit us up. Let us know. He doesn't know.
I know nothing, so.
What's
All
up,
right,
Jay?
guys. So.
Outed that guy. LOL.
All right, guys. So
It's empty.
It's empty.
It's empty.
There's some math. We were trying 2 plus 2. We're trying to get it ironed out.
I'm trying to get the right number. I keep coming up with 3.
Yeah. So all right. So this week we are reviewing ATI dampeners, crank pulleys, whatever you want to call it, right? So what is the purpose? Why we use them? What vehicles benefit from it? So this is universal across any platform. You know, whether you're NA on a 5.7 or you're boosted, you know, and you want to, you know, add more boost. So I'm going to fix this. See how you do this? Hold on, we're going to just put them in charge. Yeah, see? There we go. All right, fingers in front of it. There we go.
Together.
There we go. All right, so ATI is our go-to brand for their super damper. We use that on any vehicle, right? So what does it do? Essentially what it does is it replaces your crank pulley. So the pulley that's on the snout of your crank, right? There are several different options. Now, if you're boosted, we'll focus on a supercharger boosted style setup. You're going to want what's called an overdrive. So what that means is you are going to make it bigger. So they rate it based on percentage, right? So you'll see, depending on the platform, 7%, 10%, 18%. And essentially, you are increasing the size of that crank by that percentage. So if you have an 8-inch crank, you do a 10% overdrive, you then go to 8.8 inches.
This is what this is. This is a Hellcat, 10%.
So why do you do that, right? With a supercharger, you want to spin it faster to force more air into the engine, to increase boost, to make more power. So one way to do that is you make the crank pulley larger, because what that's going to do is increase the speed at which the belt then will rotate over its path. So unlike a blower where you go smaller, on the crank you want to go bigger. So you know, whether it's a 5.7 392 with their 6-rib setup, they have options out there, right? The 18% overdrive, or the Hellcat, you know, 10%. I know there's a couple other companies out there trying to make them even bigger. One of the benefits is that this is what they call a damper, right? So they have it built into it by design, in simplest terms, to absorb vibration. So as it's spinning, it absorbs any type of frequency or vibration that can be sent through that pulley into other things, or vice versa from superchargers, alternators, AC compressors, everything going back into the crank. So this absorbs those vibrations, those frequencies, and based on design, it is better balanced as well. So you now have a more balanced crank pulley, which, and when you start spinning these things, right, a 7,000 RPM shift, that crank, that pulley is spinning at 7,000 RPM. You want something that's balanced. It goes into reliability. So when is this necessary? Well, that bad boy in a Hellcat powered vehicle adds roughly 3 psi of boost.
Ooh.
So depending on your targeted boost level, this will determine when you want to jump over and increase your crank pulley. We normally don't do it until we need to, okay? So because we utilize clutch pulleys, the factory unit is more than enough until you want that extra boost, right? Very high horsepower applications, like we said, based on the balance and dampening that is built into it, is beneficial. So that is our answer on the win. I do know some people that prefer to leave the stock supercharger pulley and then change the crank because of the benefits of that, and still maintaining a safe, you know, pump gas boost level. That is up to you. Now on, you know, 392 5.7 versions, they go up to 18%. Why? Because their crank pulleys from the factory are smaller. They start out about this size. Okay, so as you see, much smaller. So when you get an 18% increase in size over that, guess what? An 18% ATI lower is still not equal to that of a Hellcat stock lower. So keep that in mind. This is one reason why 6-rib setups struggle to make big horsepower. Physically, the RPM they can achieve is limited. So
in addition to just belt surface area.
Yeah, belt surface on it. And
talking that earlier with the Hellcat front drive.
Yep. Why is it beneficial to do that? 10-rib, more surface area, and you get the combination of the overall ability for more RPM, right? Now, NA guys, right? I know you're listening, a couple of you out there.
Chris.
Yep, I know he's probably going to chime in soon if he's not in already. We put a underdrive ATI damper on his. So what does that mean? We made the pulley smaller. Why would you want to do that? Well, weight, right? By making it smaller, it's rotating mass. So as you guys know, when you drop weight on your wheels, you know, wheel tire combination, it amplifies greatly, you know, in regards to output. So very similar to that of when you reduce the size of that.
There he is.
There he is. It's less weight to spin, right? So it's easier on the engine. You do see a horsepower increase, and overall less parasitic drain across the board because it's just smaller. So yeah, it's a great unit. ATI has their adjustable ring sizes as well. So for the Hellcat platform, it's great when we go and remove the blower and throw the turbo on. We just get the proper ring we need to adjust accordingly. So yeah, a lot of flexibility with it as well as you change setups for the vehicle.
They're also rebuildable.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
The dampener inside, they have, it's listed on it when you should change it.
Right.
So
Right.
circle track guys, not that we have any, they go through it more often because they're at the high RPMs. So.
Right. Yeah, so they are serviceable as well. So unlike an OEM one, some guys I'm sure have seen those rubber rings that fall out of your factory crane pulley. Non-serviceable. These are serviceable as well.
Don't got to throw it out and buy a new one.
Nope. Nope.
Which is nice. Reduce,
great.
reuse, recycle.
Exactly.
We're very green here.
More reliable, stronger, safer, and a lot more flexibility to adjust based on your build. So the product, where's the box? Put it back up for advertisement.
The box.
So thank you ATI for a great product.
We love you.
And this is our product review of the week. We use it on a lot.
I mentioned is
Recycle, yes.
if you look down the hub, there's a keyway.
Yes.
When should I pin my crank? Should I do a front pin, a side pin? Should I do 30 pins in the same crank?
Absolutely, just as many as you can fit in
Go
it.
wherever, just weld
Yeah.
it to the crank.
So here, we'll use this as an example. So we had a question about it a few weeks ago about front pin versus a side pin. So essentially some cranks, you know, when you do a forge setup, they come with keyways. So essentially what it is you zoom in there, you can see that little notch inside there, right? So you will slide this onto your crank and use that. So what it prevents it from doing is having this spin at a different rate than your actual crank. That's called spinning your crank, okay? So, yes, he did have his coffee.
I did.
And then some. Might be drug testing him later.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, so that's what that's for. It's helped to keep it all in one. Now, not, you know, for example, Hellcat cranks from the factory don't have one. So what we do is we pin them when we apply this. ATI provides a side pinning feature. We are more fans of that just based on the overall concept design and how it works. It's also a lot easier to reposition it if you ever have to remove this for any reason as well, versus when you're drilling in the front of it. Now, mind you, this isn't the front, it's the back, but just so you get the idea, with the crank inside and you're drilling from the front, trying to simulate that of what that keyway is. I've had cranks come in with 6, 7, 8 drills in it because every time it was removed, a rebuild, whatever the case may be, crank seal leaking, they had to redo it because they couldn't get it to line up perfectly every time. So another benefit to this when you get forged, you know, and you have a keyway, bam, you're ready to go. And like I said, they do offer a double pinning where you can do it at 180 degrees on either side. Again, a lot easier to align it up once you do that. So that is another perk for sure.
Does front pinning, when it removes that material, is that a bad thing to take material away from your crank?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those, you're technically removing surface area, right? So surface area is what holds, kind of like on a belt when we talk about that with friction, right? So it's all needed to help keep it in place. So yeah, every time you do that, you're reducing the amount of surface area. I've had guys, sadly, that might be watching, that we had to basically get them a whole new engine, mainly because the crank was destroyed. You know, when you destroy that, what they call the crank spinning, that pulley spins freely on the crank snout at different rates, and then it destroys one or both of the products, right? So then it's out of round, it's not equal, and it's not like you want to go and overbore a crank pulley, you know what I'm saying? So sadly, when you have issues like that, it can lead to needing a whole engine rebuild. So
Don't do it sketch.
Yeah, don't.
When
don't
you
take
boost your
shortcuts.
car and you don't pin the crank like I did, and then you find out that the crank bolt is not even tight. Yeah.
Yeah, how many times I tell you to pin that?
Oh, you told me a lot of times.
Almost
Yeah.
every data log.
Yeah.
So learn from Tulo.
I pinned it,
You
and I
did
got
eventually.
lucky. I got lucky. It
Yeah.
didn't spin on the crank.
Yeah.
I got very lucky, but
did.
I can think of 3 motors right now where didn't pin it, spun it, new motor needed.
Yeah.
So.
Sad, but it happened.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. So ATI again for underdrive, overdrive pulleys, built-in damper.
Our boys,
You know,
our gang.
It's a win-win-win. You know, depending on your application. So
And they're
all right.
pretty.
They do look good.
They are pretty.
Yeah. And one of those things too. So you see how these are black, right? Anodized
Yes.
black. You can tell a car that's had belt slip because they turn gold.
From the
So
heat.
I've had from the heat of the belt slipping on it, I've seen these actually turn gold from it. So another way to tell if you have belt slip or not, look at your black anodized pulleys and see if they turn gold. So
Absolutely.
there you go.
Absolutely.
All right, so everybody's favorite portion of the segment, could you, should you? So we'll get into the questions you guys have and go over, could you and should you. So what do we got?
Could you, should you do poly bushings on everything on a street car?
Could you? Yes. Have I done it? Yes. So what is that for those that don't understand? So from the factory, a majority of the bushings on these vehicles are rubber. Rubber is great because it's soft, it absorbs, right? Allows a little bit of movement but holds things in place until they deteriorate. So one of the initial upgrades for that is polyurethane. So, give you an example of what that is, a hockey puck. So everybody's kind of, for the most part, seen a hockey puck. That's polyurethane. Still kind of a rubber material, just a lot more stiff, right? So now, when you remove the softness of the rubber, what happens? One, it keeps things tighter, which from a performance standpoint is good, right? So handling can feel tighter, you'll feel it better. And one of the things is, believe it or not, everybody likes when you rev an engine, you see it rocking the engine bay, you're actually losing horsepower because it's being lost in the rubber bushings, not translating to the tire in those situations. So that technically puts down the power better. The downsides to it is you're going to feel everything. So anybody that's done, like an AAD drag pack suspension setup with cradle lockouts and a one-piece drive shaft, you definitely start to hear and feel things more. So it removes that comfort side of things, going more towards the performance side. So again, it depends on your application and what you're using the vehicle for. For a daily driver, if that's all you're going to do and not really use it for the performance side of it, just be prepared, right? So
It's a little rough.
It can be.
Yeah.
It definitely, depending on how many you actually swap out and what you get into.
Especially like when you mentioned like solid motor mounts.
Yeah, solid
once you hard mount that
polyurethane.
sucker,
Yeah.
she is shaking,
Yeah.
and you feel all of it.
Yeah, so they not so popular in the Gen 3 Hemis, I've noticed, but like the LS World and the Coyotes, they do make a lot of polyurethane mounted setups. You see solid mounts in the Gen 3 Hemi, but I've had my fair share of polyurethane mounts on a car, and you do feel everything. You start to hear things, and for a standpoint of someone like myself, it doesn't bother me, and I kind of like it because you start to learn the frequencies and everything, and when they start to change, you know something else is up. It's another way to
Let's be more in tune.
Yeah, more in tune with it, but you definitely will feel it and lose some of the comfort of it, and that's one of the fun things of these Dodges is they're big, they're heavy, they're comfortable. And then you start removing those features from it, you will feel it. So performance standpoint, absolutely should you. If you're really trying to get that street strip car, there are benefits for it. It makes it easier to dial in the 60-foot and stuff because it removes slop and those variables that rubber bushings can provide. But from a street car standpoint, just be ready. So good question, though. It's something we haven't talked about.
Absolutely. Something we've talked about it a while ago, but it's always good to touch on because I've see people post about it here and there. 15-inch conversion, streetability of it.
Oh yeah, good one. So yeah, and we're getting
that car on the dyno, that white one I showed earlier, that does have a 15-inch conversion, so that's kind of what they look like. Solid, non-vented rear rotor.
Yeah.
This one's a TCE.
Yep.
TCE with
absolutely.
Willwood calipers,
That's
and then
what we
solid.
had in our shop car.
Yes,
so that's
it
kind of
was.
our standard go-to. So 15-inch conversion, could you, should you? And again, I did it on my Charger Hellcat when we had the twin turbos on it and everything like that. Still drove it on the street. I will say this, normal driving, if you don't know, majority of the braking happens with the front brakes, okay? That's why they're bigger on most applications, except GM, especially on the 5th Gen Camaro. They made the rears bigger, made no sense anyways. But for the most part, your front brakes are going to be bigger. That's where you'll notice you have 6 piston instead of 4, because one, there's a lot more weight over it with the engine and everything like that, but generally, that's kind of what you want. If you're riding a bike, you still want to use your front brake and your rear brake. If you ride a motorcycle, how many people are sit there relying on their rear brake to slow them down, right? Not going to happen. You need both. But the front does play more of a part. So from a normal driving standpoint, just driving like a normal person on the street, you don't really notice. I'll be honest. If you bleed it correctly and you set it up with a proper installation, you don't notice. When do you notice? I'll tell you, a 4,700 pound car going 160 miles an hour trying to stop at a drag strip that has a short shutdown, you start to notice it there. You know that those front brakes get real hot. You smell them, and you do feel the fade a little bit more from that. That's in the instance where you will feel it. So
O'Reilly's coming in.
O'Reilly's is coming in. He's gonna make a guest appearance. Welcome.
What's up? You want to go to live?
You want to say hi?
No.
To live?
Oh, okay. He's shy.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, O'Reilly's. All right. So, yeah. So, from a street standpoint, normal driving, didn't really notice much of a difference. Even at highway speeds, braking normally, you don't notice it. From a slam on your brake from an 80, you will notice it a little bit. But it's you know, Woodwood makes a very good brake setup on it, so it's not like you're going to a standard V6, you know, rotor caliper, which we've done before. But it's still a very good braking system. So you're not affecting the front in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, most guys don't notice. I'll put it this way. If I were to just tell you to get in a random Hellcat here, 392 that makes big power, and drive it and tell me if it has a 15-inch conversion, you're not going to know. But like I said, if you hit it, you know, $160, $170, you know, trying to stop, you might notice it at that point. So roll racing, I know we have some roll racers in here, you know, where you are hitting, especially on those high horsepower builds, you know, 160, 70, 80 mile an hour trying to stop. That's where a 15-inch conversion isn't your friend. Parachutes, good idea. Although we don't like to pull them because they're a pain in the butt to wrap up from a safety standpoint. Have it there just in case. But yeah, so street ability, you're fine. Normal drivability, you're fine. But yeah, once you get a little more aggressive with it, that's when you do start to notice it. So
now the 15-inch conversion you need if you want to run a 15-inch rim.
Right. Correct.
How much of a difference is the 17 to the 15? If I'm looking for that extra edge, is it going to really get me there, or is it more of like a clout piece?
No, it definitely. So things you get by going to a 15-inch conversion, you can fit a smaller wheel. So naturally, from a 17 to a 15, if you're using the same manufacturer, same width for the most part, that 15 is going to be lighter.
Boom.
Right. So now it does depend on the tire you choose. There are some heavier tires over others, but again, manufacturer for manufacturer, a 15-inch tire is going to weigh a little bit less than actually a 17-inch tire. Maybe depending, because naturally the 15 is going to have more sidewall in it. So again, the sizing you choose, that might, you know, will cancel out a little bit. But naturally, you're going to get a little bit reduced rotating mass out of those. The brakes themselves, the rotors are much smaller. So right there, you save on some rotating mass. Also, cost-wise, the tires themselves for 15s are more of a common size when it comes to racing. So those drag radials are a little cheaper. So that's one of the perks for it, is you can burn through them a little bit quicker and not cry every time you want to order them. Also, they're more readily available too. Anybody knows on a 17, the way I run those when I have my 315 45 or 315 50s on the 17s, when I am ready to put my new set on, that's when I order my other set, because you never know. Like right now, those 315 50s are hard to get. So
we've had 6-month ship times down here.
Yeah, sometimes during the busy seasons, with strikes at ports and things like that. So they're readily available on the 15. So
sounds like you're saying that if you want tires for next season, and make sure you have them, to order them now.
Yes.
Hit up Cam,
Yep.
Old Man, Captain Helmet, me.
Yep.
Get them in.
Yeah, so weight savings is a potential with the proper wheel tire combo. Also the brakes themselves, cost savings. So there is a benefit. Plus, I know a couple people might be watching there, making that switch from the 17 to the 15. The consistency with the 60 foot makes it so much easier to repeat that 60 foot time. In regards to track prep and track conditions, that variable then gets reduced quite a bit. So again, a lot of pros that go into it. So cons are minimal in regards to general braking on it, but definitely worth it in my opinion if you do see yourself doing dig racing more and more with it. So
green cars are the slowest cars. I don't believe that.
I don't know.
I'm not buying that.
Yeah.
I'm not subscribing to that theory.
Yeah, I don't know. That's up in the air there.
Yeah, rumor is orange cars, but
Orange cars.
yeah.
Careful there.
Uh-oh. He doesn't even watch the streams anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Jeff.
I think purple cars, I'm told, are the fastest, but
That's word on the street.
It's up in the air. We'll see.
The pigment weighs less.
Yeah, that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
Less metallic in it too.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You get the metallic from the trophies.
Yeah, my Charger was slower because it was a wrap, so I added weight.
Yeah.
Same thing with the TRX, I added weight, so that makes sense in that one. So, so that's kind of a, to each their own. So.
Tune only.
Yes.
Stock Pulley Hellcat. Will adding an injector, in this case an FIC 1000, will it add any power, or the stock injector is good enough for tune only?
So this is kind of a
No boost change.
Yeah, this is a good kind of a double question built into one. And I know CJ and I talked about it a little bit earlier this week about what we hear. So we'll start with the first portion of that question. Is a tune only on a Hellcat worth it? Beneficial? Do you see gains? Could you? Yes. Should you? Yeah.
I don't see
absolutely.
why not. It makes no sense.
So we see on average 40 to 60 horsepower out of a normal Hellcat just by a tune. And then we see 60 to 80 sometimes on the red eyes. So it definitely is beneficial, worth it. Yeah. Fuel economy bump, you definitely. So I do think it's worth it. Now the question of injectors. Do you make more power with bigger injectors? No. So the way it works is these are air pumps. Engines are air pumps. So this is the second question. Could you throw injectors on a car and make more power? No. The only reason you would need bigger injectors is if you increase the airflow, or the injector you have is not, capable of keeping up with the current airflow that you have. But on a completely stock boosted, Hellcat powered vehicle, or a completely stock 392.57, just throwing injectors on is not going to allow you to make more power. So, if you decide you're going to run the 85, that requires more fuel based on how it burns. But if we're talking a pump gas situation, no. Could you change and make more power? No. Should you? No, absolutely not. All injectors from the factory are designed with a little headroom for weather variations, things like that, right? So they allow in a stock form application to make the power that are needed if it is stock. So don't change the injectors expecting more horsepower. That's not how it works. It's not that you add fuel and then you make a bigger boom. You need the air and the fuel. Mm-hmm. So with an engine, the goal is to try and get as much air in it as we can and then match the fuel that's needed. So only spec your injectors based off of the amount of airflow your engine is consuming. So stop buying injectors when you don't need them.
What you should do is port your blower, upper, lower pulley, cam, headers, and then you do injectors.
Then you need injectors.
And then all that airflow change makes you a ton of power.
Absolutely.
And then you're super
Absolutely.
happy.
Absolutely. So,
Speaking of tons of power, should you dry or wet nitrous shot through the blower?
through the blower, absolutely. So what is the...
Send it.
So simplify that question. Could you, should you run a dry or wet shot through a blower? So let's break down that question. So what is the difference between a dry shot of nitrous and a wet shot of nitrous? We'll do that first. A dry shot is simply you're spraying nitrous somewhere in the engine. There is no fuel compensation. A wet shot has compensation for fuel based on solenoids and its own jetting for fuel. So that one is nice because essentially you shouldn't need to adjust the tune because the nitrous system itself, being a wet shot, is going to compensate and add the added fuel when the oxygen is added by the nitrous, okay? So a dry shot is purely just adding oxygen without compensating for fuel. So the way we normally compensate for fuel for that is then tune related. The downside to that is if you're running a nitrous specific tune without the nitrous, it's going to be fat. It's going to be rich, and depending on the shot of nitrous, it's going to be reduced timing, okay? So it's just a combination where without that nitrous actually spraying, you are going to make less power significantly. Wet shots are the go-to way. So that way it has the fuel compensation there. What do we mean through the blower? There's two ways you can introduce nitrous. There's pre-rotor or post-rotor. Centrifugal blower, if you're going to be crazy enough to spray it inside of the compressor on that, that's certain, turbos, whatever. But essentially that's what we're referencing is pre-rotor, post-rotor. What are the pros and cons of each? We'll start with pre-rotor, so that's going through the blower. Positives, it cools the air going into the blower. Also, you are forcing more oxygen pre-rotor, which means that oxygen is going to be compressed. Not only do you get the increase from the natural amount of oxygen you're introducing, but it's going to be compounded, and you're going to make more power than what that jetting is. So generally, as an example, on a 100 shot of nitrous pre-rotor, we might see 150 horsepower increase because you're adding oxygen that's now being compressed. You'll see an increase in boost as well.
Golly.
Generally, I will say about a 200 shot. If you really like to lean on it, a 250 shot is what we are okay spraying through a blower. 200 is kind of where I think is the happy number. So that would mean I'm spraying 200 shot of nitrous pre-rotor, allowing it to be compressed and then forced into the engine. You're cooling the pre-rotor intake temps because nitrous cools it at that time. So kind of a compounded effect. Now, one of the downsides to that is the variable. You really don't know how much power you're going to get at any given time of spraying because temperature variances, weather variances, humidity, all of that. There's going to be a variable there. So
200 shot for a full mile run. Just letting her eat.
If anybody hasn't learned, Ron likes to party. So, and I got to work on those ums. We can talk about it every week. So
The what?
I keep saying
It's okay.
Now, post-rotor, what you do is you're cooling the air post-rotor, still probably pre-intercooler. Now, there are some where there's spacers, right, that are post-rotor, post-intercooler, so it's going to be ultimately cooled, right? It's already going to be cooled through,
You're getting bullied.
Type every time I say it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Everyone in chat, type when he
Everybody
says it. Everyone.
So, yeah, that would be the most comments ever.
Oh, God.
Post-rotor, post-intercooler, you're cooling cooled air. You can actually control the nitrous shot more because there's no compounding effect to it. So it's one of those when you really need to dial in, when you're really working on bracket racing, don't you dare do it. I see what you're doing.
I heard you
I'm trying.
one,
I'm trying. So that's one
the
of
dog
those.
shot collar every
Oh man, don't do that.
Wow.
Can we start with the green rocket at least? You
should clarify what that is.
What's that? I don't have it here, so I can't.
It's a TENS device.
It's a TENS device. Electrotherapy.
Yeah, it has little prongs on it. It's not what it sounds
it's not
like.
what it sounds like. I should clarify. But we'll start with that before we go to the dog collar.
Just want to get that one out
Damn
there.
it! I did it again. So that. Yes, that's where the benefit of a post-rotor setup is. It's more controlled, more consistent. Now I'm all conscious about it, guys. Shoot. Damn it. So, now I'm going to turn all red. That's the difference between them. That's not really a swear.
For you.
So that's where it comes in. More horsepower comes pre-rotor. More consistent comes post-rotor. So, that's up to you. Yes, 200 shot, full mile, pre-rotor. Send it. Before you launch, start spraying it to cool it down.
40 degrees of timing.
Send it.
All of it.
Send it.
All the timing in the world.
All of it.
Speaking of timing, can you run a shot on a tune that's not set up for a shot? Does anything change between them except the title? Do you just name it nitrous and...
Yeah, so like we talked about, a wet shot is supposed to compensate for the fueling there. So that one will be okay. What we do have to adjust is timing. So that's really what it comes down to. Now, pending the application site, the rule of thumb, old school rule of thumb is you subtract 2 degrees of timing for every 50 horsepower of nitrous you're increasing. So
don't do it, Dan.
that will, don't do it.
He just walked away.
He thought about it.
You saw it.
So that's really what it comes down to. Do you want to run a 150 shot of nitrous on a pump gas tune without a tuning adjustment? I wouldn't, unless you like to party. Like Ron probably just going to throw the 200 in it and send it.
Yeah,
just throw it a set of colder plugs in a tighter gap. It should be fine, right? Now, depending on the fuel you run and how the overall setup is designed, after the tuning and you verify, you might be able to keep most of the timing in it, but every vehicle is different. The build is different. Fueling, timing. Oh, dude, I'd be careful there.
250 pre-rotor?
Pre-rotor. Why don't you get pre-rotor?
Buddy.
No, how about this? Pre-rotor 200 shot, and then get the plates for post-rotor for another 200 shot.
Yeah!
I want to see that. Ron.
Yeah, that'll be
I just
fun.
want to do it. Please.
Do one of those backfire plates on the lid, maybe.
That'd
Think
probably
about
be a
it.
good idea.
Yeah.
Damn it.
That sucker's gonna pop.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Is you're adding
already got
oxygen. There we go. So nitrous is adding oxygen. It's nitrous oxide, nitrogen, and oxygen. Nitrous basically cools things and disappears once it sprays in. It evaporates and it's all oxygen. It's a form of supplemental oxygen, so we have to match the fuel. That's where the fueling adjustment comes in. And that's you making more power. Like when you turn boost up, you don't run the same flat timing of boost and then, just keep turning boost up with the same timing. You adjust timing accordingly based on the overall setup. So that's where the importance comes in with that.
Have we stopped remote tuning completely?
No, we still remote tune.
Yep. We don't remote tune Hondas.
Stop that. Yeah,
Stop,
I
please.
I had to stop doing that. But
Yeah.
we initially, when we talked about not remote tuning anymore, it was just being a little more strategic. I don't want to say picky, but just strategic on those that we are able to remote tune for. For us, it's important to preserve a relationship, whether that means we have to say no and make you a little upset that way. It's one of those, I'm not just going to take everything in because, you know, we tune, right.
Hey, I'm on my 20th tune.
Yeah, so we are still remote tuning. It is a case-by-case basis. We're just busy in the shop and remote tuning. I want to make sure I'm accessible as much as I can be. I'm the only one that tunes here, so one person doing it all.
That's why it's called Satera Tuning.
Well, yes, you know, and I want to make sure that I'm able to give the attention needed to everybody. I don't want to sacrifice quality of a tune by taking on too much. So it is a case-by-case basis. What's happening too in the industry, what you're going to be noticing now that, you know, we're approaching a decade of Hellcats being out. The 392 has been out for over a decade. Now it's turning into, hey, I went to 3 other cheaper shops before yours because your price was too high and now I'm having issues. Can you fix it? It's one of those where we want to say yes, but we also, from a business standpoint, want to assess, you know, why should I just sit for the original price I quoted you and now you want me to fix something somebody else did where you were willing to pay them, no questions asked. So it's just one of those. Sadly, more shops are getting involved where they shouldn't, and it makes the job harder. And if I'm stuck with a customer like that where, you know, 5th tuner in and I'm having limb mode issues because the tune sucks and it ends up being there's a bunch of mechanical issues and it's not even tune related, but they just blame every tuner, I don't want that either. So it's more case by case. We still are remote tuning. I average probably a minimum of 30 tunes sent out a day on top of what I do here. Still have, you know, the shops we support across the country as well, so trying to make sure I'm available for everybody like that.
I should show that real quick.
What is it?
It's a purple car.
Oh, the purple car, huh? I wonder what's going on with that one.
I wonder.
Yeah,
we won't say. We don't know. We just work here.
Yeah, right. I just get a paycheck. Wait, I don't get a paycheck. We gotta talk about that.
I give mine back
Who
to
do I
him and I
talk
order
to?
parts.
Who do I talk to
HR.
on that?
That's
HR.
your wife.
I gotta talk to HR.
Yep. We're coming for you, HR.
Careful. Don't say that.
Okay.
We're not. We're just kidding.
Yep.
Anyways, next.
Next, I had one. Anything 4 doors sucks. That's not true. Anything 4 doors cooler. What is the most wheel horsepower we've gotten out of a twin turbo 5.7 Hemi? We're about to find out. We're about to put rods on the floor.
5.7 Hemi. If you're talking bone stock.
And is it Eagle or pre-Eagle?
Yeah, I mean there's some variables in there. In regards to highest horsepower, I made 820 wheel horsepower out of a bone stock Eagle 5.7 with our single turbo kit on it.
Oh.
At that point, the customer decided that was a little too much. I agree. It wasn't going to last long, and I know it wasn't going to last long. So that car ended up leaving with about 720 horsepower, I think is where we set it, 720, 740 to the wheels, and he's had it for a couple of years now.
What do they make stock at the crank?
At the crank?
Yeah.
What?
380?
Yeah, 380,
380,
right around
390,
there.
and it was making a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah,
Double.
making a lot more than double.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at the crank.
Well,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Versus
So, you know, realistically, they make low 300 stock, you know, so that thing is over twice what it used to make. The 5.7s, I feel, are underrated when it comes to modding. You hear me
great,
say it all the time. In regards to mod friendly, the 5.7 is the most mod friendly. They're just a good combination of things. And, yeah, they're not going to make all the horsepower in the world. 2 Sonic.
What was the lightest car? Someone asked what was the lightest car in the shop. Probably was my Sonic. I had no interior.
Yeah, next to the Audi, right?
Dude,
But,
the
yeah,
Audi.
so the 5.7s, we've made 800 plus. I just haven't had anybody that really wants to push it further. I don't know what the reason would be to push it further on a stock 5.7. A pre-Eagle, they're lower compression from the factory, so you can run a lot more boost in them, you know, especially on corn. We're going to see soon out of what a twin turbo Magnum will do with a pre-Eagle. We'll probably pump 20 pounds of boost with corn, but it's not going to make a lot of power because of just the design and the airflows that are built in. So
kind of suck.
yeah, it's one of those. I wouldn't say, you can run 800 wheel horsepower as a daily driver and it's going to live long. Well, would you go out and be able to run a bottom, 10-second pass, maybe a high 9 out of that? Yeah. The one we spoke of with the 720, it's like a mid to bottom 10-second car. It's a NAG 1. So it's boogied. He doesn't have time to go to the track with it. But there's a lot of unseen, untapped potential on these 5.7s. So I'm a big fan of them. and hope to see more turbos and boosts thrown at them in years to come. Yeah, they eat it up pretty good.
We're gonna make 900 wheel horsepower through a stock 160,000 mile drive line. The trans will live. It'll all live. Doesn't look confident.
It's not happening.
Bummer.
Yeah. Next.
Intakes for boost. For those NA guys, I know we talked about it earlier. I said something, he didn't hear it. But when we're boosting, let's say a 6.4, can I throw 25 pounds of the stock 6.4 intake? Where is that something?
Are you talking the intake manifold?
Yes.
Yeah, so by design, these...
My apologies.
Yeah, you're
Should've been a
good.
little clearer.
So in regards to intake manifolds, what do they like? 5.7, 6.4s, they're actually like glued together. It's multiple pieces where they're actually glued together. So you're really relying on how well that guy on that Thursday when he put your intake manifold together did. The amount of glue he did, the temperatures around. My rule of thumb generally is about 15 pounds of boost is when I would really start to look at a manifold swap. Now, did you show him the CNC machines?
I did not.
Oh, shoot.
I fumbled the bag. Dang. But we have a Facebook reel of it.
Yeah.
Like
So I
it,
guess
share it.
We gave it away what it is.
Oh, no, we did.
Shoot. So, there are options, right? I know I heard Holly ended their sniper production of their sniper series right now. So, with ours coming out, it'll be very good for, those boosted centrifugal and turbo boosted 5.7, 6.4 guys.
Yeah.
Even Hellcat powered vehicles, it's coming for you as well.
Oh.
So, at that point, you just got to be worried about the fact that you're pressurizing an intake that wasn't designed for that, right? Technically, the vacuum produced more force than the boost at that given point. So that's where my rule of thumb is I don't think it's worth it. I have guys out there making 20, 22 pounds of boost on stock 6.4 manifolds. Again, they like to party. I do think it does serve as a restriction point with that amount of airflow. Velocity is outstanding. Believe it or not, the short runner valves still are beneficial, but I do think I would bet that on the big end we would see some improvements for flow and horsepower in regards to peak. So depending on the given application of where you want to utilize your power will determine what you might need. But yeah, 15 psi I think is a good cutoff for stock, in regards to stock intake manifold from a boosted standpoint.
There was another one.
Yeah?
I think of. They're not fun when they explode.
They're not.
No.
They make loud noises.
Yeah, they make loud noises. Lots of fire goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Your arm hair burns off. Your eyebrows burn off. All your facial hair burns off. Your
Yeah.
eyes sting for about 2
If
days.
your hood's closed and it does the vertical
Yeah.
leap. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
There's a video on Facebook going around of a guy doing a bottle shot on his F350 or whatever, and the intake explodes. And
literally from the
yeah,
driver's seat.
yeah, and
don't
you
do
see
that.
how bad it is.
Yeah,
So
don't do that. So
definitely not something, especially.
what did I do? We're back. I hit the
We're
wrong
still
button.
here.
Are we still here? Okay. I didn't. Yeah, we're good. Cool.
All right. Well, it looks like we're still there.
All right. Good.
So if you're pushing crazy boosts, you don't want to risk anything blowing up. Little Birdie said, wait a little bit for intakes.
You'll see him next week. So
Next week.
yeah. Joe's been going crazy with it right now. So right now in the machine, what we posted up was the base to our billet intake manifold. So that is we're done with one side now. We're flipping it over to do the other side. And then the runners, we're going to go on to the runners, and then we're going to have a bunch of different lid options pending your application. Air-to-water intercoolers will be an option being
Tons
built
of fun
into it.
stuff.
We will have one design that will, be capable of over 1,500 horsepower. That will clear a factory hood. The 1,800 horsepower and beyond one will require some modification. We're going to see how well we can get it down there, but it will. And price-wise, we're not trying to undercut anybody. We did really put a lot of effort in making it cost effective. It's going to be expensive. It's just the metal alone is expensive. The components used are expensive.
It's a big old chunk of metal. We start with the chunk.
Yeah, it will be. It's technically four chunks. Four
chunks.
And if you guys
That's a lot.
research, metal's not cheap right now, but it will be
Nor is it.
one of the cheaper billet intake manifolds available. Purely because we focused on functionality over form. So
Yeah.
it's going to be pretty, don't get me wrong. It will look great under the hood, but it's not going to have extravagant designs built into it. It's not going to. We really focused on runner design, length, angle, the ability to put in, the
Market
intercooler that we
research.
need for it. So that's one of those that was our goal with it initially. So we are working really hard to bring that. We still are working in the development of the 3D printed intake manifolds that we're doing. Believe it or not, to get the quality that we need is taking a lot more time than making a CNC version one, funny enough. So again, cost versus what we have going on, we want to make sure, it works for everybody. So naturally, I'll throw the number out there. Might change depending once we see the actual operation time. We're going to have a 1,500 horsepower capable air-to-water billet intake manifold for about $6,400. So that's what we tried to do. Like I said, the metal cost went up. The intercooler is provided by TIC Performance, so it will accept a 108 millimeter throttle body. We're also going to have adapters where we can change the angle and design of where the throttle body inlet goes for the TRX guys, so you don't have to have your 180 pipe going into it for your turbo setups.
Air loves hard corners.
Yeah, same thing for, once you get to a turbo setup, if you don't want that angle from where the factory blower goes on a Helion setup, for example, we'll get a straight inlet for you. So there's going to be a lot of options for it. So
we're also doing limited editions where I hand paint on the lid, Captain Helmet, but it is a $2,000 upcharge. So
I just found out about that. So I don't think anybody's going to pay it, but we'll give it a shot.
If you
never know,
want,
right?
I will hand paint it.
Art is art.
Art
right?
is art.
So,
I know what I'm worth. No low ballers, no tire kickers.
Yeah.
No trades.
Kind of what he said. Yeah. Yes, Captain Helmet, you did. Don't worry.
I'm painting a mural of you on the intake list.
So that will be one of our products that we review in the next couple of weeks once I have a complete unit here for you guys. So do stay tuned. It will be very, very soon. Thank you for your patience. I have a line of you. I know. Just understand we have a ton of time, a ton of research, a ton of development into it. We're not just forcing something out there. We're making sure we dot all I's, cross all T's, and make sure it's perfect, ready for you.
I mean, like the program Joe created, how many lines of code were in
just
there?
that one. I know there's programs that help him with it, but it's 800,000 lines of code just for what was going yesterday.
Yeah.
And I know he didn't do it each line by line. Like I said, we have some programs that will assist us to speed it up, but just to show you, that was just one side of the base, right?
Yep.
So now we flip it over, the runners, everything like that. It's insane what actually goes into it. So a lot of props to Joe. Is a lot. We should invest in monsters. You might have seen all over.
Yeah, that might
keeping
be
him up.
wise.
This man does work 7 days a week trying to make this happen for you guys. So make sure to give props to Joe out there. All right.
He's in when we show up, and he's here when we leave.
Yep.
The boy
Even on
works.
Saturday and
Yep.
Sunday, we are not making that up. So this
Yep.
is not something we're just throwing together. There is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into this, and
swears.
We don't bring that up.
Oh,
okay. So
Family friendly.
again, thank you everybody for the patience. We know it's taken longer than we expected, but sometimes that's what happens for what you need, right? So, all right. Any more questions?
One more.
All right.
Could you, should you? 5'7", 6'1", 6'4" guys. I guess even 6'2" guys applicable. When doing a twin turbo kit, could you, should you? Top mount or mid mount, bottom mount?
That's could you, should you? Yes, you can do any of them, right? It's all depending on what you're trying to get out of it. The ease of design and installation is a mid mount, right? Helion, love their kits, bolt in very easily. I know people that do it the first time think that they struggle a bit. They're very well designed kits. They go on very easy, quick. Fabrication is reduced, and it produces the power you need.
It's also kind of sneaky.
Sneaky, right? Hidden. Right there, you put the intake back on it like we did on the Trackhawk and their sleeper kits, right?
Well, I'm a full bolt on 6'4", guys. Who wants to put 500 down?
Yeah, so
take their money.
it's one of those where at the end of the day, what you need to look at is the overall turbo kit design. So there's the inlet to the turbine housing, obviously the downpipe for exiting, the compressor. All of that needs to be filled with air. So the more pipes you have, the more bends you have, it's going to slow down velocity. It's going to increase spooling times, right? Doesn't matter if turbos are all the way in the back of the car. If you design it correctly, you can get some decent spool time out of it. I had a rear-mounted twin turbo setup where my pipes were basically straight pipes, and I'll tell you, that thing had very little lag for what it was. And I've seen kits that are more mounted, behind bumpers and stuff like that, but you have 6 90-degree bends and 2 180-degree bends to make it around everything that's there, and they don't spool for anything.
Yep.
So
You
it's
finally
all
built
about,
these.
you know, turbo design. So naturally with a mid-mount, you have very little up pipe, as we call it, going into the turbo. So you're going to have good reaction time there in regards to helping spin the exhaust. The downpipe side, exiting the turbine, you're going to also have very little restriction for the most part because it's going straight into your catback. So the catback will play a part in that, but if you dump it, whatever. So in theory, the turbo itself is going to spin quickly. Now, if you look at the charge pipe side, that's where a mid-mount setup, you get exaggerated pipes. So although the turbos are spinning faster, quicker, they now have more pipe they have to fill before the boost starts getting created. That's where lag comes in with the combination of things. Engine bay, like the shop car. If you look at, in regards to turbo location on the manifolds, it was about the same distance. So up pipe size, getting the turbo spinning, it was very quick. My cold side, going from the compressor housing over into the intake, is very short. So that is how I was able to, you know,
about that much of pipe on
not
each
even,
side. Boop,
not
boop.
even. So that kit, because of placement of the turbos, had extremely quick spool up time, especially with a 426 behind in a properly sized turbo setup. That's why I left it 2,800 RPM and still cut 260 foots. So other guys out there where, depending on where they're placed, oversizing turbos,
That's
a lot of
true.
piping that has to be filled. They need a 4,500 stall to be able to build up any type of load and give the ability for those turbos to spin fast enough to create boost pressure. So in regards to it, pros and cons to both. Engine bay, generally you can drain oil right back into the oil pan. No scavenger pump is needed. Very nice. Spool times, if built correctly, are very nice. That's pretty much what you get out of that, right?
It's also kind of cool.
Looks
It's a flex
great.
factor. You pop
Looks
the hood,
great.
there are 2 turbos sitting there.
Right, now we'll get to the downsides. Heat. You're packing everything in under a hood that gets closed, right? Very hot. And the reality is, you don't have a lot of space. So you're already cramming extra stuff in that space, and it takes space away from the space you didn't have, and relocating stuff, so it's not always the
Fuse
easiest.
blocks, ABSs,
Yep. So
coolant tanks.
Yep. A lot more goes into it. That's kind of the pros and cons there. Pros and cons to the mid-mount. Mid-mount, easy to install, easy to make for the most part. And, you know, temperature, although the turbos are kind of next to the engine down by the trans, that's where headers go anyways, and it's hot there. Based on airflow and the way drag works, you got some air pulling the heat out of it. And, you know, with proper wrapping and stuff, you can reduce engine bay temperatures a little bit with it. Downsides, depending on the turbo you want, space can be hard. It could be low hanging. You know, people are afraid of water. I'll tell you this. I daily drove multiple cars that had turbos low and mid mounted. If you're smart, you'll be fine. Don't try and hit 20 pounds of boost driving through a 3-foot tall puddle. Just a little bit of common sense goes into it, right? So my TRX daily driven mid-mount setup. Have I driven through puddles? Yeah. I'm not spooling 20 pounds of boost while I'm doing so. So it's one of those where, you know, convenience factor. Downside, you don't get to see them.
Yep.
You know, in theory, people are concerned about heat next to the transmission. Where the inlets are for the turbos are hard to change filters sometimes. So there's pros and cons to everything with it. It's more so making sure the turbo kit is spec'd accordingly. So that will mean more than technically where the turbo is mounted.
Yep.
So
If you go too big, your spool size sucks.
yep.
Too small, what's the point? Why are you
Yeah,
putting 44
exactly.
mils on a 6.2?
Exactly. Don't forget, guys, you know, like 62 millimeter turbos can make 1,400 wheel horsepower. So why are you getting 68s or 72s when your goal is 1,200?
You don't need it.
So keep that in mind.
You're hurting
Keep
yourself.
that in mind. Last question from Jeff. I shouldn't make boosted top speed run in the car wash.
At the same time. No, not if you have mid-mountain turbos.
No, it doesn't matter if you. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Car wash.
Right.
Why are you taking it through a car wash? We have a detailing shop right here.
Yeah, what are you
What's
doing?
wrong with you, man?
Borg Warner for the win. Yeah, we're Borg fans. Helion turbos, you know, their turbos themselves, Borg Warner. We use precision for real tight spaces. We're fans of those guys. So, all right, I think that's good for this week. I'm hungry. Again, more ums. We're gonna figure. I'm gonna put the shock collar on next week, I guess. See if we can get an interactive button in there and see if people. That
Can we
might
do a
be
poll?
dangerous. I don't know. It'd be dangerous. So
I don't know. I'll have to play with it, but
easy to install. There he is, our lead tech. Hey, would you rather install a Helion kit or a single turbo kit in Jeff's car? Come on, Arturo.
come on.
Come on, Arturo.
No hot pockets today. Oh,
No hot pockets. Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Sad,
out
no
and
ham
say
cheese.
I like doing the mid mounts more. I did the install removal on the shop car. I've done a couple of Helion kits. I like the mid-mount kits more. There's more space.
See, he disappeared.
Yeah.
Back to work. Arturo, we're waiting on you.
Come on,
I'll
man.
take neither for 300.
What?
You didn't even do 500, bro.
That's just weak, man.
That's just sad.
Come
At least
on.
go for the big one. But that was an either-or question.
Yeah.
Oh, food just walked in. All right, guys.
Time to
Thank
go.
you again,
Let's
everybody,
go.
for your support
Bye.
and time and everything. We love you.
Food's here.
We'll be back next week. Let us know what products you like reviewed.
Yes.
Keep those questions coming. Don't forget, we have a Facebook group now. We're going to be posting more detailed information on things in there to have a go-to central spot for it. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good one.